Was Tampa too big, or was, and is, say, Brooksville too small, or?
Politics, sir. Every area that was looked at was very, very closely evaluated. You had a situation here at that time, as I recall, the tourist business wasn't doing all that good. There was plenty of property available at a good price. A lot of people wanted to get some money back for the investments that they made because Clearwater wasn't booming at the time. I believe that they did find some things to attack the mayor's office with at the time. Although, as far as I'm concerned, from what I've been able to piece together from the people that I knew that were involved in it, this was just politically a nice place. And I'm talking about your community being infiltrated on a regular basis by psycho-political operatives who have been well-trained. That is the basic simplicity. And everything that I have said today is to try to drive that point home to you. It is no accident. I trained some of them, and I went on some of the missions, and I've done it. And now I would like to see that facade all broken apart, because Scientology does not deliver what it promises.
Look for our button.
What should I be aware of? And what should my colleagues up in this project?
Well, I'll tell you, I sure wouldn't want to have any skeletons in my closet. I'll be very frank with you.
Now you tell me.
Mr. Mayor, if you got a phone call in the morning, the phone call consisted of, I heard you talking with a gentleman before, I know you have 2 daughters, and they go to such and such a school. Would you consider that a threat? If the facts in the case were the truth.
In my case, it certainly would be.
If that phone call came from me, would you take that phone call serious?
Oh, sure. In fact, it would already have gone past the point where you should have been doing something about it.
You mean if you were me, if you were me, you would not be sitting here, you would be with your family?
You have been classified as an active enemy of the church. I've been trained how to handle you guys if I wanted to, if you were attacking me. In other words, I've been trained to present the church's position in a favorable manner. I've been trained to take everything that you say and turn it around against you if that's what I needed to do. In your particular case, they would have already classified you as an active enemy. You would have done something that impeded the expansion, the progress of Scientology, and you would have gone from somebody who was just in disagreement with the church or was interested in finding out what it was all right about, into somebody who was doing something about it. The minute you became active, then you go under the area of observance of geointelligence. That's when they start gathering the data, when you become active. I didn't get sued until I testified, as long as I hid for 3 years after I got out, and the IRS didn't know where I was, and nobody bothered me. But the IRS found me, and I agreed to work with them. And as soon as I did, the day after I put my testimony in the record, it hadn't even been released yet.
Well, Mr. Burfield's
They arrived on my doorstep.
concerned about some threats he has had. I have, before they started.
If you want to know what the Church of Scientology will do to you, read The Art of War by Lao Tzu. Because that's one of the required books on the training manual for an intelligence operative. Moved here, Clearwater was no exception. The whole operation was here. There were just literally thousands and thousands of files. There was a room bigger than this one filled with file cabinets where they pulled off of the ship that contained the data of all the missions that had been sent out from the flag. All that information was available right here in your city. I read it, I used it, and did my job. I couldn't have done my job without it. I had to know what was going on in the organizations in order to be able to handle the people we were having trouble with.
Those files were here in Clearwater?
In the bank building, right over here.
And we've all been hearing about RPF. What was RPF?
Well, you could be assigned to it. Primarily, it had to do with with a lot of crimes against Scientology. And those crimes could be things like not applying a policy letter when you should have, not having a good gross income for the week, not having it go up steadily. Maybe it went down for 6 weeks or something like that. So you could be pulled off of a post and put onto the rehabilitation project forces. You were held up to ridicule by literally everybody in the organization. You were not allowed to be communicated to or communicate unless you were first communicated to by somebody. I spent time in a bilge at one time for being late from coming off of Liberty. I spent 12 hours in bilge water that deep in the bottom of one of the ships, cleaning scum off of the hull because I was late, and I went without sleep at that particular time for about 36 hours getting my amends to the church for my crime of not being on my post in time. I observed people in a chain locker on the ship for a week on bread and water. A lady named Holly Judd at a place called American St. Hill Organization in Los Angeles spent something like 9 or 10 days in a closed room on bread and water, writing up all of her crimes against humanity for the last trillion years. And this telex was sent to the LRH's, L. Ron Hubbard's, personal secretary in the United States by L. Ron Hubbard's personal secretary on flag, which was then located in the Netherlands Antilles. This was in, I believe, 1974, 75. The name of the person was Ken Urquhart. He's well known as the LRH personal secretary. With translations, it reads to the LRH personal secretary, Toby, regarding the ship. It says, leave the threat of the rehabilitation force hanging over them for now. Have their confessional folders gone through listing all crimes found. Crimes must be verified as not audit or errors, and the criminals with the greatest treasonous action put on the rehabilitation project forces. The remainder are told that they have one more chance to come clean and go straight. Have their folders summarized and programmed for vital corrections, and then security checking, lie detector test. If then no mark changes, they go to the rehabilitation project forces. Regardless of any auditing or security checking, those not going to the RPF are to get on the ball and pull their weight to complete the ship's programs by the deadline already given. There's going to be no captain bill to reward you. They make it or they don't, and if they haven't woken up to that, wake them up. Love Earth, Ken Urquhart. Black and white on their own telex form that they order people to go into confessional folders. You may have a copy of it.
One of the vicious policies we've heard about in the past, and seems to relate to you also, is the disconnect with your wife.
Bring my wife in. There was an attempted handling on her. She was put on a meter and asked a bunch of questions and stuff. And after it was all said and done, she said, I don't want any part of this. She didn't know why. She just knew that she did. I don't want to go into that any further, but as a result of that, I was considered to be what is called PTS, or a potential trouble source to the church. The policy very clearly says handle or disconnect. And I said, well, she's not going to become a Scientologist. That's right. What else is there to do? Disconnect. So basically, my wife was just another one of you garden variety humanoids that was socked into drugs, and I was better off without her, and I went for it. Whether that was right or wrong is besides the point. I did. And that marriage was ruined as a result of my believing the church policy on the matter, that I couldn't reconcile the marriage unless my wife was a Scientologist.
If you weren't audited, they wouldn't have had any information on you. To you?
Well, no, not true.